Welcome back to Face to Face. I'm John Rawls, and we're talking about the state budget, taxes, the future of the state. We might even later get to Yucca Mountain with Erin Neff and Chuck Muth, who are from quite the opposite sides of the political spectrum. Let's talk overall about the state's budget challenges, and I want you to both react to a couple of things. First, I want to read what Erin Neff wrote on her website, Progress Now Nevada, about the state's budget challenges. We support innovative approaches to the current recession and urge nothing be taken off the table. It is long past time for Nevada to grow up and champion a revenue system that, while certainly won't be exempt from downturns, also won't destroy any incremental progress made when times are good. The state's revenues and spending have been studied to death. There are ways to create a sturdier three-legged stool without chopping all the wood to pieces. Lawmakers who leave Carson City this year without establishing clear priorities for a major economic overhaul should not expect to return to any elected office. And you mentioned Patrick Kulikin's piece. I want to read from that in the Sunday Sun about whether Nevada's government is too big or too small. He wrote, there's a percentage, and we've seen this before, of the state's economic output that has the leanest state government in the country. Even thrifty New Hampshire and deeply red states, South Dakota and Texas, have bigger governments. Another way to measure the size of the government is to determine what the state spends per capita. By this measurement, Nevada has the third leanest government in the country, $1,136 per person in 2007, ahead of only Flinty, New Hampshire, and impoverished Michigan. Despite the small government rhetoric of Republican Governor Sarah Palin, Alaska has the highest per capita spending at $63.64 per person. What about this? I mean, if you listen to what Erin Neff writes, it makes some sense, to some people at least, and then you look at Patrick Kulikin's facts, which is that we do have a lean government. We don't have that many state workers. We don't fund things. What do you want to take your old friend Bob Beers' numbers on education and others? We do not fund things generously in this state. Isn't she right? Your ideology is just unworkable.
Well, I don't think that's the case at all. But I will say this, the debate on tax reform and changing the way our tax base is funded is a worthy debate to have. And I agree with Erin. The time for study is over. We've had enough studies. But if you want, what I'm asking for, though, is a revenue-neutral tax reform. Now, there are other states. California has income taxes. A lot of other states have income taxes and taxes other than on gaming and tourism. And they're hurting, too. There is no perfect tax system. But it is something worth taking a look at.
Why revenue neutral? Just because you don't want taxes raised?
I don't want taxes raised as part of a tax reform program, and I think that's what Barbara Buckley and the Democrats are doing.
Would you ever consider taxes being a good thing to be raised that would help the state?
Well, as long as we have an Office of Diversity at UNLV spending $800,000 of taxpayer dollars, then no, I'm not ready to raise taxes. As long as they cut what you consider all the crap in the budget, right, get rid of some of those commissions, and let's decide. Yeah, let's decide what the essential services are, and if there isn't revenue to provide what is truly essential services, and we're going to have differences of opinion up there, but then I think then we can take a look at it, but not until.
To be fair, speaking of unworkable ideologies, isn't yours unworkable right now? We're in a recession, maybe a depression. You can't really tax gaming now. Gaming is hurting, can you? You can't really even tax business now, even though business hasn't been brought in. There's no corporate incomes to tax, as I've said. So isn't he right in the sense that even if you're going to broaden the tax base, you have to do it in a revenue-neutral way, or you're going to make an economic situation that's already bad much worse?
It actually might make it better.
How?
Because a lot of economists believe that the problem right now is a lack of revenue. People can't get jobs. People can't get access to credit. Why don't we try putting more money into the system?
Well, that's what the federal stimulus package is for. Supposedly that's supposed to jumpstart the economies across the country. But what we're talking about here is a broad-based tax, which you and I, when you were a journalist, wrote about many times, as have I. Why isn't this a terrible time to try to institute something like that?
There's never going to be a good time to institute it. We couldn't institute it a decade ago when this was the fastest growing state in the nation. I say try it now and see what happens. Look, you can't get much worse than the near 10% unemployment Nevada has, than the continued drop in gaming revenue. What's it going to do? Drop another percent? I'm sorry, let's try something.
Isn't he right, though? Isn't Chuck Muth and others, aren't they right about some of the wasteful spending? I mean, there's waste in any organization. And when they can use anecdotal stuff, the Office of Diversity, the R.J. Rich, this editorial about all the boards and commissions, it's hard to disagree with that editorial, by the way, if you read it.
Yeah, look, there's waste in government. There's also thousands of autistic children that can't get treatment. There's also overcrowded schoolrooms. There's also people can't get into emergency rooms. We can't build the roads. The jails are overcrowded. I mean, where do you want to look? Every day in the legislature, someone comes and says, Go ahead, cut my budget 40% and watch everything go even further into the toilet. It's no joke that we're 50th in almost every social service spending in the country. We're the 50th state. I mean, try something. Why don't we try spending some money? We never try it here.
So, well, here's the problem. You've got double-digit unemployment, and you're going to tax the very people who have to create the jobs to lower the unemployment rate. Why would you penalize people that you need to create jobs right now? Autistic children, because I hear this all the time from your side about autistic children. Fine. That is a community need that may be an essential service. Why are we raising taxes instead of getting rid of the Nevada Arts Council to pay for the treatment of those autistic children?
What's wrong with the arts?
Nothing's wrong with it, but it's an essential government service that taxpayers should be paying.
We have to take a break, and we should when we're talking about autistic children, we should note that at least half of the Gibbons family cares about autistic children. Guess which one that is? Back in a moment.